Darkcast Network. Welcome to the dark side of podcasts.
Warning. The following podcast may occasionally contain strong language and material that is not suitable for all ages. If you are easily offended, it is highly advised that you turn back now. However, if you're a degenerate, welcome, brethren. You've found your home.
Welcome to the Crime Diner. We are a Jersey podcast, and on the menu is a variety of true crime, cults, mysteries, historical hilarities, and sometimes victim stories. We do this within a Dinner with Friends theme. I'm Nydia.
I'm Dana.
I'm Cindy.
Last week, I told you the story of the TikTok request that you had about Adam Simji, and he was brutally murdered, and that's still an ongoing case, so we're...
Right, about the strangers in the woods, the cult in the woods.
Yes, the potential cult in the woods.
5-year-old in the shotgun.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
That was a very sad story.
Yes, that was. But it's still developing, so...
Yeah, hopefully we'll see some justice there soon.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you this week about a real mastermind of deception and thievery.
Okay.
Yes. It's a case of stolen property of the deepest kind.
Uh-oh.
Yes. Stolen bodies.
Oh, shit.
Yes.
All right.
Body snatching.
Body snatching.
Yeah.
Is it the Burke thing?
What Burke thing?
Oh, okay. All right.
No, it's not.
All right.
It's recent.
Oh, recent?
Is it recent? Yeah. It's
Yes.
recent.
It's
Oh,
recent.
shit. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But first, the food. Let us pray. Bless us, O patrons, for these thy gifts which we are about to receive from thy donations through Patreon every month under the power of the V Podcast.
Cult.
Oh, wow.
Is it a bagel?
It's a bagel.
What is it? Is it pork, raw, egg, and cheese? What does it mean?
It's deli meat.
Deli meat?
Okay.
What kind of deli meat?
New York cheesecake.
Oh, cheesecake.
Okay.
Cheesecake.
So the story is based in New York.
Okay.
Therefore, bagels, deli,
Gotcha.
Cheesecake.
Gotcha.
What's the drink?
Long Island iced teas.
Oh, fuck.
Oh,
I'm
shit.
just sleeping over. Oh, shit.
Oh, damn.
I did not make a lot. You should be able to leave after recording.
Damn it. That's my favorite. That's the drink if you ever see me. Like, if we're out at a bar or whatever,
yeah.
if you see me drinking Long Island iced tea, you can just call me an Uber, bitch. It's time to go. It's time to go.
All right. Let's dig in.
Let's go. So what did you have on your bagel?
I had an everything bagel with mustard and Genoa salami and American cheese.
And
And a tomato.
I always go for the sweet and savory. So I had a raisin bagel with roast beef and mustard and American cheese and tomato
Never had
and
that.
lettuce.
I went with the everything with turkey, Genoa, and provolone.
All right. And we had some cheesecake.
She went with the whole farm.
Cheesecake was delicious.
New York cheesecake.
All light and fluffy, no
Yes.
crust. And these Long Islands are strong.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, they're strong.
Yeah, I left. I took a few sips of mine and I almost finished it though, but
Yeah.
I had to leave some because
Left in
I was
Long
just
Island?
like, yeah, I have to be responsible.
I think that's smart.
Fully abandoned it at the table.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I'm being a big girl.
So, we got started a little late today.
Yes, we
partially
did.
my fault. I was driving and I was on like a 2-lane highway, 2 lanes going one way, 2 lanes going the other. And so I was in the farthest side to the right, the slow lane, if you will.
Right.
I was in the passenger seat and my girlfriend's like, their car door's open. And I was like, who? Whose car? And I'm like looking. She's like, behind us. And so this car comes like flying up in the fast lane, and the woman is like hanging out of the door with the door open, and she's like waving her hand. And so then she goes past us, and then like I thought, oh, maybe she's trying to like get the attention of the car in front of us. No, past us, past the car. So then my girlfriend's like, do you think like she's been abducted? And I'm like, bitch. I'm like, 'cause she was like hanging from the door.
Shit.
So she gets into the other lane to like follow. Because I was like, Lily, let's get her get the license plate number or something. So I like took some pictures of the car, but I couldn't get the whole license plate number because as soon as we got behind them, they turned left and we had to go forward. Like we were going too fast to just like turn the way they turned. And honestly, I was surprised she didn't get dumped out of the car as fast as they like took the turn.
What?
Yeah. So like we went up to the next light and she's like, do you think we should like turn this way and go and whatever? So I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. So we turned down the street, but then we couldn't find them going. Like, we don't know where they went. So then I dropped her off and I was taking her car back because my car is still broken. I was on my way back here and there was a gray car being pulled over and I was like, oh shit. And I'm like, oh, it's not the same car. I was like, fuck, that would have been like, at least we would have known like,
closure to it.
Yeah, but I don't know. I only got the first 3 license plate, the 022.
Did you guys call the police?
No.
Why?
I don't know. I didn't know what to do.
You needed to say, hey, I'm on the highway. Somebody is like clearly in distress. They have the door open. They're hanging out.
Crazy. And now I feel like I dropped the ball.
Yeah, you absolutely dropped the ball. I'm here to tell you that you did.
Now I have to edit this out of the podcast.
Why would you have to edit it out of the podcast?
Now I feel embarrassed.
No, I mean...
what if she gets murdered?
Was there other people?
Oh my god, yeah, it was like a huge.
Really?
Yeah.
So other people saw it too?
Yeah, there was hundreds of other people saw it.
I will tell you, chances are other people were calling as you guys were trying to get the information. Because I've done that before, called 911, and they're like, oh, like 3 people already called.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Unless
they're not thinking that you were doing it.
Yeah, right.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was a little crazy, but
wow, that's wild. Was she screaming?
No. I mean, our windows were up, so I guess I don't.
So she had her door open on the highway.
Like, and we were doing like probably like 45, what's the speed, like 45, 50.
Okay.
At least.
And what was she doing with her body?
She was like holding the door with one hand and like waving with her other hand, like holding it open.
Really?
Yeah. And it was like an SUV, maybe like a Hyundai Sonata. Or something.
Were they swerving or anything like that?
No. They took the turn fast, which seemed to me like they were like, oh, there's a lot of people and she's being erratic, so maybe I should.
Did anybody follow behind her?
Just when we got behind them because we were going to, try to get their license plate, but then they turned. So that was, they turned like, and kind of there was a light, so it was like, they could turn, but. Abruptly in a way that we couldn't have made that turn that fast.
Oh, I see.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like abruptly they turned. I thought they were going to go forward and they turned.
So like lose a tail.
Yes.
Wow, girl.
Yes.
Well, that blood's on your hands. Anywho, we just came back from vacation, both of us.
Yeah, this is our first recording.
Yeah. We both went to Disney, not together, separate weeks. Yeah. I had a grand old time.
Yeah.
But it just made me understand, like, how can anybody afford this? Is like, it's a lot.
It was a lot, yeah. We didn't do everything, but
so expensive. It has gotten like insanely.
Not only has it gotten expensive, but it's gotten very like there's a lot of like loops to jump through.
Oh my god!
Like, you have to pick your day, and you have to register.
You gotta make reservations at the parks, and you gotta, and now it's not like in the old days where you like get the fast pass and like No,
because the first day we went to Universal first,
right?
And the first line that we went to get in was like 3 hours long, and I was like, "Let's just go get the fast pass." And they were like, "Oh, the fast pass is an additional $164 per person, and you can't use it till 4 p.m." And I was like, are you kidding me right now?
Right, yeah.
They're like, you should get it first thing in the morning. I'm like, it's 10 a.m.
Right.
We just got here.
Yeah.
So the line ended up not being that long, but
it's insane.
Yeah, it was very crazy. Very,
it's
very
insane.
Crazy.
Like, you have to buy, like, I forget what it's called, like Genie Plus or whatever, and like the newest rides, like you gotta order it, and it's like $20 per person to ride like one ride.
Oh, really?
And it's just like, oh my god, like what the fuck?
Yeah, my son really just wanted to see Star Wars. We've done Disney when he was little, and we've done Universal.
The Star Wars park is amazing. The Star Wars
stuff was so amazing. Yeah, it was really, really cool.
I love how everybody in that area is in character. Yeah, like all the time.
Yeah, did you see the stormtroopers walking by? Yeah. This girl was like leaning against this thing, and the stormtrooper like shoved her with it. Shit. It's just like they're very like into it.
Well, yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
I noticed that we did a lot of waiting. A lot of standing in lines, a lot of like And so my feet were like really killing me, you know what I mean? And so that first night, my son was like, oh, I would like to eat in that chocolate restaurant if we can. And we called to see if he needed reservations. He couldn't.
Chocolate restaurant?
Oh, in Universal, there's like a Mr. Emporium's chocolate, whatever the fuck it's called. I don't know. We went over there and they're like, oh, it's about going to be like a 45-minute wait. And we were like, that's fine. And so I just wanted to sit down because my feet were fucking killing me, right?
I bet.
And so I had taken my shoe off because I was just like adjusting my sock. And I was just like fixing my sock, but then my whole shoe was off. And then I just, like, it just happened. I was like rubbing my foot, you know?
Oh, no.
And my son was like, ew, your dog's around. You're just rubbing your feet, walking that dog down the street. He just starts ripping me. He's like, put your shoe on. You're so nasty.
Oh my God.
And I was like, bitch, it was off for 1 second. I was just trying to fix my fucking sock. He's like, oh, you're rubbing your foot. What the fuck is wrong with you?
I do that too. I'm guilty of that.
I was like, oh, that was embarrassing.
In one day at the park, we walked 30,000 steps.
Oh, I couldn't even check because I know.
Yeah, it's insane the amount of walking that you do. And we don't do like park hoppers. I dedicate 1 day per park.
Yeah.
I can't
don't
do
know
that
how you
whole
could
thing.
do that. Like, we were saying that. I'm like, how could you even... Universal's one thing because you can ride the train back and forth or whatever. But, like, Disney, like, how can you even do that?
Not to mention, like, the amount of time that you waste hopping from park to park.
Yeah.
It's just, like, it doesn't make any sense.
It was funny because my son's 20, right? So he's not a little guy anymore.
Right.
And the last ride we waited for was the Seven Dwarfs, like, roller coaster ride in Magic Kingdom. We had never ridden that ride. In the ride, there's these big barrels and you can spin them and it makes, like, an image on the ceiling
while you're waiting.
Yeah, while you're waiting in line. And there was like a bunch of little kids, of course, and they're like spinning it. And my son's like, under his breath, he's like, "Move it, children! I want to play with that barrel." Like the whole weekend, like he just kept like he bought himself a lightsaber, which is very, in my opinion, very expensive, and it was like really the only purchase he made. You know, he kept being like, can I pay for an Uber? He paid for dinner, like, you know, a couple little things here and there. But he really wanted this lightsaber. So he buys this lightsaber.
Did you go with him to the experience when, like, putting it together?
No. Yeah. Yes.
It's like a whole show.
Yeah, we had to, like, wait in line, do that whole thing. We get back to the hotel room, and I go to the bathroom, and I come out. Every light is off.
And he's like,
and then this fucking, the lightsaber's like, and just like lights up, and he's like, this is so cool. I'll post a video of it. It's so funny. he's like looking at himself in the mirror, and he's like holding it up like this. I'm like, bro,
settle down.
He's just been chasing us. The dog is terrified of the lightsaber. He's like chasing the dog all over the house with the lightsaber. It's very funny.
Wow.
Yeah. And we had a good time.
Wow. So, we also got lightsabers, but now they're just like night lights.
Yeah.
Like, oh, $250 night lights.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's what they like. That's their like base price or whatever.
Yeah, right.
It's insane. Insane. I couldn't believe it.
Oh, and then, so in that lightsaber store where you get it, right? Yeah. There was a woman, a girl his age, checking out. She was the cashier or whatever. Yeah. But we weren't going that way because you bought the lightsaber after you made it, like, whatever. So he's like, and I'm like, damn, she's tall, you know? And he's like, she's not that tall. I'm like, no, she's tall. Like, unless she's standing on a box, she's like, gotta be over 6 foot easy. And he's like, that's a real woman. I'm like, go talk to her. And he's like, what am I going to say? I'm here to buy a lightsaber with my mom? He's like, do you think she thinks I'm a nerd because I'm buying a lightsaber? I'm like, yeah, definitely.
So funny. Oh my God. That whole lightsaber experience was funny. They had like a whole show, and it was just like the little kids get into it. Yeah. And then they turn the light and you pick the color crystal and all that.
Yeah.
It was kind of cute, but like, I'm like, really, for a nightlight?
Yeah.
Too much.
Oh, no.
I guess
I had to hear about the lightsaber, and I had to hear about the size of the thing and how much it weighs and I'm like, that's so cool. That's so great. I'm so excited that you're so happy.
So I really don't care. But I had a lot of fun. And coming back, going there, I didn't get into a fight at the airport.
I love that.
I am notorious for getting into fights at the airport. Coming back, that was a different story.
What happened?
I paid for my carry-on, so I got to seat Zone 1, right?
Yeah.
So I get into a line because they called Zone 1, but everybody from zone 1 to zone 4 got in the line.
Uh-huh.
So I was just like, wait a minute. So I asked the guy in front of me who didn't speak any English, and I didn't realize that he didn't speak any English. I was like, is this the line for zone 1? And he's like, yes, zone 1. I guess he misunderstood me and said, did they call zone 1?
Yeah.
He was zone 4 and I'm standing behind him.
Yeah.
So they start to call zone 2 and I'm like, what the fuck? Like zone 1 still hasn't finished boarding?
Yeah.
Like this line hasn't moved.
Yeah, they don't listen to that.
Right.
Shit.
So they call zone 3. I'm still in the fucking line. It hasn't moved. So I go around and I go to complain, right? And they were like, zone 1 was called a long time ago. We're on zone 3 now.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So I'm cutting the line and I walked in front of everybody and went in. So everybody starts complaining and I'm like, I paid extra for this. I'm zone 1. Such a bitch.
Doesn't zone 1 have its own line?
Yes.
Why were you in the zone 1 line?
It was closed by that point. So I was like, I paid extra for this. Cause like people were mumbling and saying, who does she think she is? And
even
so
if
I turned
get
around
zone
and gave
1,
him my opinion.
Even if I get zone 1, I wait until be the last person to get on. I don't want to sit on the airplane.
Yeah, but then you get stuck without having a thing to put your overhead compartment
I guess.
over. You know what I'm saying?
I just cannot be sitting in the plane the whole time. It makes me crazy.
I know. But then like, I don't know. I'm not good at the airport. I'm just not. It's just not. It's not my thing.
It's unfortunate that it is a fantastic, way to get you to a different destination because people really hate it. And like they are like the trash bag of like society when they're there. Like most people are really, really, really terrible when they're at the airport.
Yeah, I mean it's a combination of anxiety and the fucking craziness of the people. The TSA is so fucking mean for no reason.
Yeah,
and the rules change every fucking week.
Well,
and by airport,
going in and out, the rules are different.
Yes,
we had great experience.
You're like, do I take my shoes off or not?
Yeah.
Yes, take your shoes off. Do I put them in the bin? No bin. But at this airport, it was bins only.
Yeah, bins only.
And like at this airport, you got to take out all your liquids. But at this airport, you don't.
Yeah.
And at this
laptops
airport,
out, laptops in.
You don't. And so if you're doing the thing from the last airport, they're yelling at you because at this airport, we don't do it.
Yeah.
Only I didn't get the fucking memo, dude. And if you say it like that, they take you out of the line and they frisk you, and it's like extra time.
Yeah. They pat you down. And
yes.
Gage is like, they rub, they check my lightsaber for chemicals. I'm like, can you shut the fuck up?
Stupid. It's so stupid. And then you get on the fucking plane and like people make stupid requests of you. They want to switch seats.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, no.
Yeah, no.
And there's always a kid that's crying and it's just like, oh my God.
We had a baby directly in front of me. And there was like a little baby all the way in the front. They did pretty good up until the last like half hour, which it was one of those flights that really like got my ears pretty good, which that usually doesn't really happen to me. And I was like, oh, that baby's probably upset.
With the exception of our last flight together where you kept getting the back out.
That's the only thing that I would rather hear a baby screaming than someone kicking my seat over and over. That makes me so fucking it infuriates me. Like it makes me like my chest, like you could light a match off me. Like I feel like heat rise from the inside of my body. It makes me so mad.
Parents, like I get it. I've been a parent, but dude, like I don't know what to tell you. Like, if you have a kid, don't let that kid maybe kick the back of the
sit still.
Yeah.
And I'm not mad at the kid. I'm just like,
the parents
do something.
Sucked.
Yeah, do something, bro.
Anyway, that flight brought to you by Georgia. Fucking sucked. Anyway, did I send you guys a picture before I even go into my story? Did I send you guys the picture of the kissed up toilet seat at the school?
Yes.
Okay, so we found it was a 4th grader that did that.
No, you found out who did it?
Yes, it was a 4th grader.
But you have to explain what the picture is.
So I sent these girls in the middle of the freaking school day. I sent them a picture of a toilet seat, a public seat in the girls' bathroom that had been kissed.
Like lipstick.
Like whoever did it put lipstick on their lips and kissed all over the toilet seat. Even that little one part where the toilet seat doesn't meet the base of the thing. Yeah. They kissed that part.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Where your taint sits.
Ugh.
And
usually your taint
sits there, but yeah.
Well, no, I understand that, but
usually the pussy flaps.
No, my flaps aren't sitting there. Yeah. No, my flaps aren't sitting there. But a lot of times when I've gone to a public restroom, that's the dirtiest part of the seat.
Disgusting.
Yeah, that part is like the nastiest part of the seat, and they kissed all up on that.
How did you figure out who did it?
The teacher that taught that, whose classroom it was that it happened, said that it was her student. She was highly disappointed in that. She was like,
"What is she?"
That was one of mine. Yeah. So, and with that, folks, I have literally seen everything in public education.
God damn it, that's crazy. That's
it was insane.
So
I was just like, wow. I thought I had seen everything, but this is now everything.
That's a bummer. Yeah.
So so that was that.
I spent $400 on a hat.
What do you mean?
I bought a hat for $400.
Why?
I found on Instagram there was like a post of somebody's art. Like they do art on hats, like full on 3D textured onto hats. Okay. And I love hats, y'all know this. And I fell in love with quite a few of them. Mm-hmm. And I was debating it back and forth, and I spent $400 on a hat.
I want to see this fucking $400 hat.
Well, I'll show you an example of what it looks like, because it's no longer available online.
What the?
You didn't at least screenshot this hat?
Where is it?
It's called Beyond the Canvas by Yaya. And the pictures online actually do them no justice, because you actually have to watch the video.
I'm not sure there's any hat that she could show me that I would be
I would spend $400.
Like, I don't know what she's about to show us, but I'm like, I can't imagine any hat that I would be like, yes, $400 for that. Well, it is Cindy. That's certainly for sure.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is it $400 beautiful?
It's very Cindy.
Yes. It's beautiful. It's a
really
beautiful
pretty
hat. Yes.
I'll have to show y'all the Instagram video where she's actually painting
that hat could walk and talk and do my taxes, and I'm still...
It was $350, but, you know.
It's not this specific hat.
It's very similar to that one. Okay.
Like I said.
Does it glow in the dark?
It does glow in the dark.
That hat could babysit for me.
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Like you could see, if you look at the pictures, you could see how it's textured.
Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, I mean, I get like paying for a skill, right? Like there's something to be said for that.
That's the thing. It's like,
and like supporting artists.
You get a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
You get a cowboy hat. A good cowboy hat, quality one, is like $150, right? Yeah. This one was like a full art walking piece of art.
Yeah.
Well, walking.
Are you gonna wear it?
With it? Absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
Here's how I picture that order taking place. She's printing out the labels as they're coming, as the orders are coming in. Melinda Gates.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Now that one's much cheaper.
Gorgeous.
That one's much cheaper. But,
I mean,
yeah.
But Anna Banana Rockefeller, and Cindy Torres.
Well, I splurged. I was looking at the Instagram post because she was like a featured artist on this on one of the BuzzFeed things. Yeah, she's a small Latina business owner. Yeah, she just sells these hats. Yeah, and they were featuring her for Women's History Month or whatever. You know. Yeah. And I was like, I just fell in love. I just immediately had to go and buy one.
Wow. Good for you. I love that for you.
I love that you had a spare $400.
I did not have I had people that kind of urged me in that direction. That's kind of like, they're like, you don't have a child.
That's right.
Buy
you
yourself
can't take
something.
it with you, baby.
I love that you have irresponsible friends.
Well, they have children, so I believe they were living through me at that moment.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'm not here to judge. I have expensive shoes, handbags, earrings.
Yeah, you have expensive taste as well.
Girl. But exactly. The pair of shoes that you have on right now probably cost more than my whole outfit.
I believe no. These are Uggs. These are Uggs.
Exactly. They cost more than my whole outfit.
I highly doubt that. Anywho, let me get to my story, please and thank you.
Hello, I'm Kona Gallagher.
And I'm Ethan Flick.
We're the husband and wife team behind the True Crime Podcast, And Then They Were Gone.
We're a weekly show that covers unsolved missing persons cases. These are cases that you, the listener, can have an impact on.
That's right. Each week, we bring you a new case of someone who has gone missing and needs their story told. Some of the people you may have heard of, like Kristen Smart or Braceless Pizza. But we also bring you missing people of color and other cases that haven't gotten the mainstream attention that they deserve. We cover the missing person's life and delve into the investigation and media coverage.
One thing that we've learned in the nearly 2 years of doing this podcast is that a lot of these cases could be solved if pressure was put on the investigative agencies to do more. Our hope is that by getting these stories out there, you'll help us put that pressure on them.
So come along with us as we tell these stories, and maybe you hold the key to bringing someone home. And Then They Were Gone is a proud member of the Darkcast Network and Spreaker Prime. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, or your favorite podcast app.
Sometimes people have a story to tell. It could be a story of triumph or a story of sorrow. However, it's their story. It's important to keep their story authentic, in their own words, and delivered in a delicate way. That's where Unfiltered Discussions podcast comes in. I'm Brian Howard. I talk with my guests about tough subjects and pivotal moments. I'd love for you to hear their stories. Subscribe to Unfiltered Discussions on your favorite podcast platform. Let's ensure their stories are heard.
I got my story today from abcnews.go, Wikipedia, and the New York Times. All right. Michael Mastromarino.
Okay.
Have you heard of him? All right. Well, he was born in Brooklyn on September 16, 1963. He graduated from the University of Pittsburgh and the New York University of College of Dentistry.
Okay.
All right. So he was a dentist by trade.
All right. Okay.
True crime and dentistry.
They hand in hand.
Fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
All right. There's somebody digging in your mouth that has like ulterior motives.
Yeah,
Ooh,
sinister.
No, I don't think so. So he was a successful oral surgeon. I can't say that successful. And businessman who owned several practices in the tri-state area of New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. Together with his wife, Barbara, who he met at a tanning salon when he was still in college, they had achieved the American dream. But like every story we tell, not all was what it seemed. So Michael had been a football player in college, and the injuries sustained left him with chronic pain, which he kept at bay with Demerol.
Okay.
So he was a dentist. Obviously, he had access to this pain reliever.
Sure, yeah.
So as his success kept rising, so too did his need to work long hours. And so this resulted in the escalation of his drug use. He would dull his pain with Demerol and work long hours using cocaine. So he was balancing both, right? Soon he was so addicted that his mother found him in a bathroom unconscious with a needle in his arm.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. He promised his family he would, get help, see a doctor or whatever. But he didn't follow through with his promise.
Okay.
His next wake-up call came when his employee found him knocked out in the bathroom again with his pants around his ankle while his patient sat in his dentist chair under anesthesia.
No.
Unsupervised.
Shit.
Right. So he's an oral surgeon.
Yeah.
So he's like literally
putting people to sleep. Yeah.
And working, with a knife in your mouth.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So at this time, Michael was he's doing this a lot, all right, nodding off, getting the nods, and his work became sloppy. So his malpractice suits began to pile up. And I should say that he was the type of oral surgeon that would take on the difficult cases that no other doctor was willing to take on.
Oh, God.
Like doing dental implants when people didn't have much of bone left in the jaw or whatever,
God,
So it wasn't until he didn't come home one night and his wife went out looking for him that everybody believed he had hit rock bottom.
Okay.
This was not his rock bottom.
Oh, shit.
So she found him eventually. She was like, she left. It's like midnight. She's going out. She's looking for him around the streets like a desperate woman. And she sees his face illuminated by the flashing lights of a police car. Uh-huh. She saw him in handcuffs and she saw the other woman.
Oh, shit.
He had been cheating on her, and the both of them had been arrested for drunk driving.
Where do you find the time, bro?
I mean, you know
what I mean?
He was a type, he called himself a quadruple A personality.
Okay.
Yeah. So, he wanted it all,
Yeah.
including the extra harem of women, I guess, right? So he was arrested. The wife sets up bail. She bails him out. He promises he's going to get rehab, whatever, right? So this results in the loss of his license, his dental license, right?
Okay.
For something like a few months or something.
Okay.
So during this time, he's not allowed to perform any surgeries on people, but he continues to do so. So when he gets caught, in the offices.
Oh my fucking God.
He gets caught and he loses his license for 4 years, right? So now he's like fucking disgraced, right? Now, mind you, he had a few offices, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he really didn't need to do all of that, you know? He was just that type of person. So he loses his license, and that's when he gets the idea of tissue donation. So he's a dentist and he's doing dental implants, and he has to buy teeth from cadavers to implant into people, right?
Okay.
So you buy those, you know, and they're expensive.
Okay.
So he realizes, there's a market for this, right? Up until this point, the only way to do that was the hospitals got the cadavers and they processed the tissues and sent them to companies. Yeah.
Is every dental implant from a cadaver?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I think so. I think you have the option of getting, dental implants from cadavers.
Why would we do this? Why can't we just have like metal or like...
No, like you can do your own
plastic
teeth.
or something, or like...
Yeah, I don't know. But I know that some dental implants are from cadavers.
I've heard that there are cadaver implants, of course. Sure.
Right. And to build up the bone, I think what they do is they make like this slurry of like they take cadaver bones or whatever and they make like a spackle, like they make like a paste out of it and they build up bones and stuff like that and spackle it in.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of tissue donation because like you can donate your organs.
Sure,
right?
yeah.
We've all heard of that. They've been doing
Absolutely.
that for years. But you can also donate like your corneas. You can donate your bones. You can donate ligaments. Valves.
Right. Yeah, I guess I don't know why I just felt like cadaver teeth felt very like antiquated for some reason.
I mean, they used to pull the teeth out of the enslaved people's mouths.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was like. That's where I was.
Exactly. So
it just feels so like, I don't know, archaic or whatever.
That to me feels like a lot for teeth,
right? Yeah,
dental stuff. But I did work with someone who had a full femur replaced with a cadaver femur.
Really?
Yeah.
Because like, there's like nerves in there, or like, when you have like a tooth that like has like I don't know, it needs a root canal, the nerve is shown, like isn't the tooth like alive sort of? Like, I don't know, like isn't a bone with the marrow going through it, like isn't that alive still?
So she had 4th degree, is that what it is? Cancer in her bones, specifically in her femur on her one leg. And so they removed it, put in what they normally do is use it like a pipe or something or whatever it is. And the steel was not sitting well. So they actually replaced it with a cadaver bone, which was not perfectly her length. Yeah, so she actually walks with a little bit of a limp because the one leg is longer than the other.
Wow.
Yep.
So
you would think like what 3D printers we could just make something fit right. You know what I mean? Like just make it fit right.
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
I really
crazy.
don't know the whole science behind it, but there's a science behind it. Yeah.
Okay.
So he got the idea of opening up his own tissue donation place, right?
Okay.
Because before at that time only hospitals did that.
Okay.
And he was like, well, I can process and sell to the big companies.
Yeah. Okay.
There was a reason.
Yeah.
All right, but there's such a high demand for this stuff. I mean, huge demand for this stuff. I mean. So you donate your body to science, right? Most people just donate organs, you know. You don't have that many people donating like their entire bodies to science, and so
the usable parts,
right? Yeah. So, and there's a lot of usable parts, even if you can't use, the heart, or even if you had complete organ failure, there's still things that can be used as your body, right? And if you're getting cremated, well, why not, right?
Yeah.
So there's such a high demand.
Okay.
All right. Because there's millions of people getting dental implants, millions of people getting, like what Cindy said, with, these valves fixed or whatever.
Yeah.
Like if you need a ligament for, let's say that you threw out your shoulder, whatever the hell, and you need a ligament there.
Okay.
A lot of times they'll harvest it from other parts of your body.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
2 surgeries.
Yeah.
Instead of just taking the replacement from a cadaver and you're 1 surgery, right?
Yeah.
Also, it's natural. It's not something that's, going to... Like it's a natural
decay inside your body,
but it's not like a piece of metal that's gonna feel foreign to your body or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So he was like, hey, that's a great idea. I'm gonna get into that. So he applies to get a license for it, and before there wasn't that many regulations with it, he just had to apply for it. And since he already had a medical degree, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he was already in place for that. So he starts to work with funeral homes to get the relatives to sign off on it or whatever. You know, when he's there at the funeral home, whereas opposed to a hospital, you can get like the okay of the family. Hey, say your family member wants to be cremated. Would you like to donate their organs? They're gonna get cremated anyway, right? Yeah. It would be a lot easier to like convince people to do this, right? Yeah. Whereas if you're in the hospital, there's a chance that your person could survive, so you're not talking about that just yet. Yeah. How many people are, in a coma and they're like, well, this person's not going to make it. That doesn't happen as much as in a funeral home. They're already dead. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So plus you've had a couple of days to like grieve about.
Yes. So it made the process that much easier. So he's like, okay, let me do this. Right. So in 2001, Mastromarino founded Biomedical Tissue Services, or BTS. This was a company that claimed to provide human tissue for medical purposes. BTS worked with the funeral homes and mortuaries to acquire bodies that could be used for tissue donation. They started up a little in a room above a funeral home called Daniel George Funeral Home in Brooklyn. Okay. In a little room up there, little secret room. Okay. All right. Lee Cruchetta was an LPN who was certified in tissue recovery, and he was the main cutter for this Michael Mastromarino. All right. So a cutter, meaning like almost like a butcher, right in there getting the thing. But he already had experience with it. Soon, the operation grew. From 2001 to 2005, BTS harvested tissues and organs from over 1,000 corpses. Wow. And selling them to medical companies for a huge profit. The company claimed to provide tissue for important medical procedures such as bone grafts, dental implants, valve replacements, things like that. Okay. So it's illegal to sell body parts in the U.S., but retrieval services are another thing. Like, they will pay you not for the body part, but for the retrieval of the body part that they're taking. Yes. So they're like, okay, you can't sell somebody's arm, but we will reimburse you for the proper, the screening that you have to do, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, sure. So you would have had to have a facility to do all these things before we can pay you for it. Because if not, anybody off the street would be like, hey, I got a kidney.
Snatching bodies, yeah, right.
So that's what they were making their money off of, right? So the processing places were huge stock market traded places, okay? Yeah. These were huge companies, legit places. Okay. But it's like a don't ask, don't tell kind of thing. They're receiving these body parts and they're like, oh, this guy's certified or whatever. He's given us a lot of material. Yeah. But this is a good thing, so we're not going to ask. We're just going to turn a blind eye. All right. So the process of preparing humans for tissue donation and harvesting usually involves several steps to ensure the safety of the donor and the recipients, right? Okay. So the first step, this is like how they would normally do it, regulations, right? Okay. Is to identify individuals who have expressed an interest in donating their tissues and obtain their consent. Are you an organ donor?
I am, yeah.
Are you a tissue donor? Because those are two separate things.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yes. So... And if not the person, then the family. Yeah. Right? Because the family can make final decisions at the end, right? So this step often takes place before death, but can also take place after death if the individuals don't have a chance to express their wish. So if you die without a thing in place, right? A will or whatever in place, then the family can make that decision for you. So after obtaining consent, the potential donors undergo a medical evaluation to determine if they meet the criteria for donation. So it's not just enough to say, I'm a donor. Your shit might be trash. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
So the evaluation involves reviewing the medical history, testing for infectious diseases, and conducting a physical examination. Once the donor is deemed eligible for donation, the surgical recovery process begins, and a surgeon or a trained technician will perform the recovery procedure to remove the tissue from the donor's body using sterile equipment. It all has to be like very clean and sterile, as one would think, right? Mm-hmm. So there are several types of procedures used to remove the tissue, depending on the type of tissue being collected. So it's very delicate. It's almost like if you were having surgery and you needed the patient to survive, but what you need to survive is the tissue.
Sure.
So after harvesting the tissue, the samples are transported to a processing facility where they're cleaned, they're tested again for infectious diseases, and packed for distribution. The tissue is then stored under refrigeration or freezing conditions until they're ready to be distributed. It's important to note that the process of tissue donation and harvesting is strictly regulated by governmental agencies and professional organizations, and the industry is subject to rigorous safety and ethical standards.
Why?
Well,
come on.
You're going to find out why.
Why would you need standards and regulations?
Donors' dignity and confidentiality are also prioritized in the process, okay? Mastromarino had a different approach. Mm-hmm. First of all, he was paying $1,000 a body to the funeral homes for bodies that they were going to incinerate anyway.
Wow.
Okay. So the process of harvesting
the family's probably paying him to incinerate them.
Yeah. Also, yeah. So we'll talk more about the families later.
Okay.
So the process of harvesting the tissue involved several steps. His process. First, Mastromarino and his associates would target recently deceased individuals who had not specifically prohibited organ tissue donation. Okay. So they had nothing in writing.
Right.
Okay. They would then use funeral directors who were part of their network, quote unquote network, to help them obtain the bodies and move them to their facilities, which was above the little secret room. Anyway, they also paid funeral home employees to turn a blind eye to the theft and cover up any evidence. Okay.
So he's making money hand over fist because he's fucking greasing a lot of wheels.
Yeah, like I saw one of his documentaries called Body Snatchers of New York. And he talked about how a human body has a $200,000 value. Wow. Yeah. So once the bodies were in the possession, the group would remove various types of tissues they wanted to sell, including bone, skin, tendons, and heart valves, often without following proper guidelines or safety precautions. Wow. They didn't handle the bodies with proper care, and they were highly unethical in their collection of tissues. It was said that the bodies were dismembered with chainsaws, bandsaws, or specialized orthodontic burrs that were just as fast at cutting and far more precise. So they were just like using whatever tools they could get their hands on. Wow. The tissue was not processed or screened according to the standards recommended by professional organizations.
When you say they, do you mean him or like he has people working for him?
He had a whole team.
Holy shit.
Yeah, he had a whole team of cutters, of butchers, you know.
Wow.
Yeah. So the equipment was not sterilized. And it wasn't like cleaned between uses.
Yeah, why would it be?
Right. And this increased the risk for contamination and infection, obviously. Also,
of the people receiving the organs.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Also, like some of the bodies had no refrigeration. Oh. Like they were just like.
Yeah. So like, how are you even selling these organs? Because like, not that it's realistic, but like you see on TV when someone like, their heart. Then they have it like on ice and they go really fast.
Okay,
like
here's the thing, because the part of the organ that they were using wasn't necessarily. It was like a valve or something like that. It wasn't necessarily the organ
alive,
alive organ. Okay. It was just pieces of it.
Gotcha.
Ligaments and
Christ.
and parts of it. And like they didn't like necessarily need refrigeration if you're getting femurs, off of the cadaver or whatever. Yeah, what they were getting out of that was cartilage or whatever, you know what I mean? Because they were going to use that bone, and I'm not saying in every case, but I'm assuming that in the unrefrigerated bodies, what they were going to do is sell the femur, the bones, and to make a slurry or whatever. You know what I mean?
God, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, when they would take the bones out of the bodies, they would replace it with PVC pipes.
Why?
So that they could still be viewed. So they would make like whole skeletons out of PVC pipe and shove it under, inside the meat sack. And there you present the families were none the wiser. They didn't know. You know what I mean? Just right. Like, who goes up to a body and touches it, know, and like inspects it? Nobody does. Yeah. So you had, they would.
I don't know. I guess in my head, I thought this was like after the viewing.
No, the funeral home would dress them up in their regular clothes, but the family didn't know that under that was all PVC piping.
Wow.
And a head.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So, in cases where the body was getting cremated, what they would do is they would take out all the usable parts and then put it back into the bag, all like in its own juices, and just like oftentimes it would just be like a head and like whatever leftover pieces weren't like almost like if you cleaned out a chicken and the giblets were all in the bag.
Oh my God.
And that's what the family, and they would mix it with like other things to like make it seem like it was ashes or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was like very unethical and also illegal, right? So they also put the health and well-being of the tissue recipients at risk.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Because if you're receiving that, like, ugh.
Yeah, yikes.
Right. So many of the body parts were sold were infected with diseases such as HIV, syphilis, hepatitis. They just were not screening for shit.
Holy shit.
Right. Mastromarino and his associates would often mix and match tissues from different corpses, making it difficult for doctors to determine the origin of the tissue used in the medical procedures. So, like, they were sending in blood samples, because you would have to send, like, a sample of the tissue so that they could screen it, saying, okay, yeah, we'll accept this at the big medical facilities, and he would send, like, stuff that he knew was okay. He would send those blood samples and those tissue samples.
What a sociopath.
Yeah. So the facility didn't really know what they were getting. They thought that they were getting one thing, but they were actually receiving something else, right? If you ask me, they were putting a lot of trust in this guy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Who was basically new at this. Like, he was privatizing a thing, tissue donation, which was prior to that not privatized. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for good reason.
Yeah.
Right? He would send in the tissue after they tested it, after he sent the samples and they tested it and they were like, okay, go ahead and send it in. They would get it and they would completely sterilize it.
Okay.
Like, they have a process of cleaning all that shit.
Sure.
But they still have to be like, when you're implanting things into people, you are crossing every T and dotting every I. So even though there's a very small chance of the person still cross-contaminating, they make sure that they sterilize it.
Yeah, but you can't sterilize
right.
HIV.
Some things you can't sterilize right out of it, right? But they do. It's very sterilized by the time you get it into your body, right? Except for they weren't like doubling down, on the sterilization. Yeah. They thought that he was sterilizing on
doing
his
their
end,
part, right?
So, after collecting the tissue, they would sell it to, to the banks, right? To these tissue banks, which would then in turn sell it to medical companies to use in surgical procedures. However, Mastromarino and his associates often falsified documents and failed to obtain proper consent from families of the deceased. Mm. So they would then forge the consent forms and manipulate the death certificates to make it appear as though the donors had given permission for their tissue to be harvested legally. Wow. One such victim was the famous Alistair Cook. He was the host of Masterpiece Theater.
Okay.
Yeah, he was the host from 1971 all the way till 1992 when due to health concerns, he was forced to retire. So he had died at age 95.
Okay.
From cancer that had metastasized. It was already spread to his bones, right?
Okay.
So his family wanted to cremate him and spread his ashes in the big park in New York.
Central Park?
Yeah, that one. So tissue banks, let me tell you, they don't generally accept tissue donations from cancer patients because of the risk of transmitting cancer through the donation, right? So cancer can be transmitted from the tissue donation, right? If the cancer cells are present in the tissue. And even if it hasn't been diagnosed yet.
Okay.
Like, as long as it's in the tissue, it could be transmittable, right?
Oh, what a piece of shit.
Right. And additionally, cancer patients may be receiving treatments that could compromise the quality of the donated tissues. If you're getting, radiation therapy, chemotherapy, so you wouldn't want to receive those donated organs or bones, you know what I mean? That tissue, right? So on his papers, they had changed his age by 10 years and they had changed his cause of death. So no cancer, he wasn't 75, he wasn't 95, he was 85, because they don't take donations from older people like that.
Why would you?
Right. So their entire process was completely illegal and deprived donors and their families of the right to informed consent and respect for their bodies. Also, it fucked the receivers because you don't know who you got that from.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, even nowadays, if you get, like, let's say you get breast implants or something, or you get any kind of prosthetic in your body, it has a code.
Right.
And if there's a recall, they can go back to you and say, hey, there's a recall on your specific product. We got to take it out.
Yeah.
They had no way of knowing where these things came because everything was falsified.
Wow.
Right. So authorities began their investigation.
This is upsetting.
This was like a perfect crime, too.
Yeah.
The only way they got caught is when the new owner of the Daniel George Funeral Home in Brooklyn called the police to complain about the previous owner in an unrelated manner. Okay. So she had been complaining that people who had prepaid funeral services, she couldn't honor them because there was no record of it. So the old owner had destroyed some records. And she had no way of honoring that. So she wanted an investigation. And then she also said there's a secret room where they're taking bones out of the cadavers. And so the investigators were like, come again, ma'am? Like that, you know.
Yeah, that's very crazy.
That's weird. Yeah. That's just weird. But they still needed to investigate the, hokey money thing, right? So they get there. Assistant District Attorney Josh Hanshaft fucking didn't believe it, right? But he went and checked. And he, in the deposition, like in getting all the subpoena and all the records and everything, he found that there were forged documents. So the investigation uncovered the details of the scheme, which ultimately led to Mastromarino's arrest. So the individuals involved in the scheme were Joseph Nicelli. He was the funeral parlor owner. Lee Cruchetta. He was an LPN and main cutter. And Christopher Alderazzi, he was another cutter. And among other people, like, funeral directors and other things. Like, a lot of people went down on this, like 16 people or whatever. All of these individuals were arrested and they were charged with multiple counts of enterprise corruption. Okay. That is like racket. Like running a racket, where like it's organized crime, right? Yeah. They also got grand larceny and forgery.
Shit.
In connection with the whole scheme, right? So they received varying prison sentences and fines after pleading guilty. Interesting enough, the big companies, the facilities receiving the tissue, they had no legal.
Yeah, right.
I mean, they were sued, and so I'll get into that.
Okay.
So Mastromarino pled guilty to charges of enterprise corruption, body stealing, and reckless endangerment, and was sentenced up to 58 years in prison in 2013. Several recalls of contaminated tissue products were conducted in the aftermath of the investigation into the scheme, and some patients who had received the contaminated tissue suffered infections or other complications. Additionally, dozens of lawsuits were filed by individuals who claimed they were harmed by the use of the contaminated tissue. There were also reports of people suffering emotional and psychological distress upon learning that their deceased loved ones, their tissue had been stolen and sold without their consent. So especially like if you're Catholic or something, like you have to be buried like whole, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's like really important. So the scandal surrounding biomedical tissue services highlighted the need for stricter regulations in the organ and tissue donation industry, So in response, the U.S. government passed the Mastromarino Act in 2007, which required tissue banks to obtain informed consent from the families of the deceased and to follow stricter guidelines in the handling and process of human tissue. So something good came out of that.
Yeah, that's good.
So there have been several cases of individuals like Michael Mastromarino.
Really?
Including Arthur Rathburn in 2013. Arthur Rathburn was arrested for running a black market in human body parts out of a warehouse in Detroit. He's alleged to have sold body parts that were infected with diseases such as HIV and hepatitis C, as well as parts that were not properly screened for other diseases. He was sentenced to 9 years in prison in 2018.
9 years?
Yeah, in 2018. That was like yesterday.
I guess my question is like, okay, you want to stop, like, there's obviously money to be made in this. Why can't you just be regular? Like, why can't you just sell bodies that aren't filled with disease and that...
Here's why, honey. Because not a lot of people are donating their tissue.
Yeah.
They're just not. And so those are very hard to come by. And it's usually happening at the hospital, not, out of the funeral home.
Yeah.
This is where it comes into, into loosey-goosey area where you have people going into the funeral homes and taking these, body parts.
Wow.
So in 2012, Philip Guillet was arrested for illegally storing more than 850 body parts at his house in the UK.
Wow.
He was found guilty of breaking several health and safety regulations and was sentenced to 8 months in prison.
What the fuck?
Yes.
Why? Because there's not laws written about it?
Because a human body has a dead human has no legally has no rights. I don't want to say it like that. It's there's laws that say that a human body doesn't have the same protections as a live person or whatever. Yeah. I obviously for the UK, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
But 9 months in prison says they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
or maybe he wasn't being as egregious or
maybe he was mentally ill. I mean, why else would you keep 850 body parts?
Yeah, right.
And also, where are you getting them?
Yeah.
Well, I'm assuming it had to do with some kind of,
same sort
crematory or. Anyway, in 2011, Michael Stivers pleaded guilty to charges related to the illegal harvesting and sale of human body parts. He was accused of forging documents to make it appear as though the body parts were obtained legally and was sentenced to 12 years in prison.
Wow.
So compared to these other people, you have a very heavy sentence on Michael Mastromarino, right?
Yeah.
And the last one, in 2012, Donald Green was indicted on charges related to the illegal sale of human tissue. He had several associates that were also accused of stealing body parts from funeral homes and selling them to tissue banks for medical procedures. So you may have a body part in your body or a tooth or something that came to you illegally stolen from a body. Wow. And that means that you will have ghosts in your blood.
So do cocaine about it.
Yeah, do cocaine about it. In jail, Michael Mastromarino ended up getting liver cancer that metastasized to his bones, and he died in jail.
No, that feels karmically heavy.
Yes, shortly after his incarceration,
really?
he died of
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that feels karmically heavy.
I know, right? Don't you wish everything had karma like that?
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Nice quick turnaround.
That was swift. But yeah, that's the thing. But he was just one of many, I'm sure. Because where there's a will, there is a way. And there is a high demand for these tissue donation places. You know? Yeah. And here's the thing, dude. If it's happening here and we're uncovering it, what about in the rest of the world?
Yeah, or the people that we're not uncovering it from. You know what I mean? That's somebody that is sort of just following the book and not sending gross tissue and doing it with one doctor. Because it's got to be a way. Right. If you just work with one.
It's a multi-million-dollar industry because in those 4 years that this dude did it, he had made $4 million.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. You know that bodies exhibit?
Yeah.
That goes around and it's donated tissues. Did you know that those people are all Asian criminals from the jails?
Well, there's children there.
Yeah, but the bodies, a lot of the bodies are from incarcerated people that donated.
I think I remember you saying
science.
Something like that to me before. Yeah, because I saw that exhibit when I was in massage school. We the whole class went up and saw it. It was fascinating. But,
oh yeah. But
very
that's my
creepy.
story.
Wow.
Yeah.
I never heard anything about this.
Yeah, no, I had heard about it, but I think when it actually happened, because I was just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
But it's just like another fear level unlocked, you know? That one, your dentist is high on Demerol and is going to fall asleep and sever your fucking nerves.
It's literally like just Dr. Death in a different form.
I mean, yeah. Fucking crazy, right?
Could you, like, I, like, in my brain think, like, okay, if I thought my doctor was an addict,
right,
I would like to think that I would notice. If my doctor was, like, fucking passing out in the bathroom with his pants around his ankles and a fucking needle in his arm. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That has a look about it. You know what I mean? Like,
except for my gynecologist and obstetrician. I don't know if he was using during the time that I was being seen by him. But years later, I came to find out that he had been a drug user. And I
don't care if you have been a drug user. Are you clean now? Like, that's all I care about.
Right. He retired. But when I found out, I was like, oh my God, like that man almost delivered my baby and actually gave him a really bad circumcision, which he later laughed about and said, oh, more meat to have fun with the ladies. About a newborn.
Ew. I mean, we can't talk about babies.
I know, right? I'm talking about it on the podcast. my son's penis.
I'm sure you'll be thrilled about that.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my story.
Holy shit.
Yep.
That's wild.
Vet your doctors, people.
Yeah,
vet
for
them.
real.
Or just don't vet them and then find out when he gets arrested for killing his wife.
Oh, like you did.
Yeah, like I did.
Yeah. Yeah. What was the name again? What was his name?
Dr. Kaufman.
Oh, yeah, Dr. Kaufman. Cindy's Dr. Kaufman.
Yeah. We covered that case.
Yeah, we did. So did every other freaking news network.
Yeah. It was a big story around here.
Yeah,
for sure.
Everywhere. It was on like what?
It was on 2020.
2020. It was like, it was all over.
Yeah, that was wild.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's it for us.
Yeah, man.
This has been the podcast. This is it. All right.
You survived. Great job.
Yeah. We'll see you next week.
Let's hope so.
These days,
fingers
who knows?
Crossed. Yeah.
You can do merch. You can do Patreon. You can buy us a coffee, write a review, and share with someone. You can connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on TikTok. I mean, the list goes on. Check you out next week, and remember, do not get taken to the second location. Be good or be good at hiding the body. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.
Are you okay? This is crazy. Fucking loud. You're disgusting, and I hate you both.